in the first part of the framework, which is sensations, I'm going to go through a little presentation. You can find the PDF of the presentation, below the video that you're watching on the Mighty app. And, a therapist asked me years ago, what's the difference between your feelings and your emotions? And I had no idea on how to answer that. And that put me down a journey of figuring it out. But when I really started to comprehend it, it came from Gabor Mate and taking the compassionate inquiry class. The difference between feelings and emotions is that feelings are exactly what we've been saying, sensations in the body, whereas emotions, and we'll get into that in the next video, are more a combination of sensations, neurochemicals, and they create what we call an emotion, and that emotion is a messenger. So let me pull this up, this little presentation up, so that you can see this. Feelings in the body is what I've titled this, but these are just a couple points that made a lot of sense to me. So the body's needs and the mind's needs are not the same. What the body needs is different than what the mind needs. And being able to understand that I've got to take care of the mind in a certain way, and I've got to take care of the body in a certain way, and then I've got to be able to get them aligned. So the body craves nourishment, movement, rest. The mind is always trying to seek understanding and meaning. And the feelings are the sensations that we have in the body. So here's just a little example of feelings. So when I ask you, how are you feeling, or what are you feeling in your body right now? What is coming up for you right now? This is what we're referring to, is these sensations: lightness, heaviness, tension, looseness. You can feel a buzzing, a vibration, an achiness, a sharp pain, a prickly. There's a whole bunch of adjectives to be able to describe these sensations. But when your body is trying to communicate with you, it's communicating with you through these sensations. So you can just take a minute right now as an example and just do like 3 or 4 deep breaths in through the nose, all the way up to the top. Breathe into your belly, then slowly exhale out of your mouth. And then repeat that 3 or 4 times. And just like settle in and start to scan through from the top of your head all the way down, and just like tune in to like, what does it feel like in the top of my head? What do my eyes feel like? What do my ears feel like? What about my shoulders or my neck or my elbows, my hands, my wrists? What are the sensations you just find one of them. And as you go and you identify that sensation, I want you to just like sit with that for a second and understand that we cannot heal trauma. Remember, trauma is our ruptured sense of self that is the lowercase s that has separated us, has become our new identity, and has separated us from our capital S self, our true self. That's what trauma is. It just means a wound in the self, the sense of self, the way we identify with ourselves. We cannot heal trauma or recover until we become familiar with and befriend the sensations in our bodies. So what I want you to do is like go back to that sensation that you had, and I want you to ask it this question. If that sensation in your body had a voice, what would it say to you right now? The way that you answer this is not by using the mind. It will feel like that sensation is talking to you. The way I describe it is I heard a feeling rather than I thought a thought, right? I wasn't thinking the thought. I wasn't reasoning with what is the voice of this, but more so letting it have a voice. So again, this is a practice to be able to do at home. And it's something that we'll walk through together in our sessions. But if that sensation in your body had a voice, what would it say? We went over this in the previous video. Sensations are raw bodily experiences. They lead to emotions, which are messages from the sensation. And then there's perceptions, which are generalized states of being, and interpretation in the story that that we tell about the sensations and the feelings that we're having. In this video, all I want you to do is just practice tuning into the sensations that are in your body. I'm going to give you an example. This could be really difficult. So, Addie heard Amy on the phone with me, and she comes into the room. It's kind of the backstory. She comes into the room, and she's like, she was doing really fine, like doing perfect. About to go upstairs, brush her teeth. I was up at the ranch, and she hears us, like on speakerphone or whatever. And Addie comes in like really whiny, and remember, she's 11, and she doesn't know what's going on. She's just got this need that she's not even aware of. So Amy says, "What do you need?" And Addie says, "I need my Huey." She calls me Huey. No one else is allowed to call me Huey, or you will be annihilated. Like, she will literally send you to the firing line. That's just like her thing. She says, "I need my Huey." She lays on the ground. She starts wobbling on the ground. I'm on speakerphone. I can hear and tell what's going on. And we might even have been on FaceTime. And I said, "Addie, what are you feeling in your body right now?" She says, "I just want you here." Now, notice this is really, really common. I see this with adult clients all the time. And, this is an 11-year-old, so this is appropriate. But it's really hard to understand what we're feeling in the body. And notice how she just jumped to the thing that she wanted rather than being able to answer the question. So I replied and I said, "I want to be there too, but that's not helping me understand what you are feeling." And she says, "I don't know." And I said, "Just take a moment, take a couple deep breaths in your nose. And what are you feeling?" And she said, "I'm feeling sad." Right? Because I guess I'm not there. And that was where that was coming from. And I said, "That hurts my heart. Sad is an emotion. But what sensations are you feeling in your body?" And she said, "Pressure." And I said, "Where in your body are you feeling the pressure?" She says, "Everywhere. My entire body is just feeling this pressure." Now think about how she entered into the room, right? Is a little bit whiny, but if you have pressure and you're feeling this pressure in your entire body, it's going to make anyone kind of get a little whiny, right? High pitched voice. And then where she had started laying on the ground and wobbling and contorting all over. And it wasn't super dramatic or anything. But if you had a lot of pressure, that physical behavior is perfect arithmetic for the sensation in the body. That's now actually telling us how much pressure she's seeing. So this is a practice you can use with your kids, like we do with ours, is that when you're watching and observing the body behave, where it started for us years ago, and I was the same way with my kids because I just didn't know any better, is and I'll use this as an example just so we stick on topic here. She comes in and it's like the judgments in my head are popping up immediately, and I'm thinking, why is she flopping on the ground and being whiny and all this stuff? Everything was great 2 minutes ago. That's me being in my mind trying to figure things out instead of attuning to what her body is actually sensing and feeling and what's the experience going on the inside. So the body will always tell you what it feels like on the inside, and the mind will try to rationalize and reason with it and will unintentionally shame or make our kids feel unseen, misunderstood, because we're not slowing everything down to attune to the body. So she says she feels it everywhere in her entire body. And then I said, when you're feeling the pressure inside your body, what does your body want to do? She says, run away, but I can't because it's bedtime. Well, now imagine that you've got all this pressure inside of you and you and you want to just run, right? Just get that body moving, but you got to go upstairs and go to bed. And now all that pressure is starting to bottle up inside. And where's it going to go, right? Well, if you can't go anywhere, you collapse. And then if the pressure is still there, you start wobbling on the floor. See the arithmetic there? She says, so I said, do you feel like you can't get away from it? She says, yes, I'm stuck. And I said, okay, that makes sense why you're wobbling on the ground. You don't have a way to get away from the pressure. She says, yes, I just need you, then it'll go away. Children are always naturally codependent, right? But we carry this same kind of stuff when we're not taught this in childhood. We carry it into our partnerships, particularly our romantic partnerships, and we behave much the same way in our relationships as adults. And so I said, that is one way, but can I help you in another way? Right? Because I'm up at the ranch. I'm 45 minutes away. She says, okay. And I said, if that pressure had a voice, what is it trying to say to you right now? She takes a couple deep breaths, that you're never coming back. And I said, that makes sense. I can see why you're feeling so much pressure in your body. She says, yeah. I said, I want you to think about what it would feel like when we get to be together in a couple of days. She says, okay, smiling. And I said, what do you feel in your body right now? She says, warmth. Right. So she's tuning into the sensations. This is a muscle and you have to practice this. And I said, I will always come back. I feel warmth when I'm with you too. She goes, okay, I feel better. I'm now going to go brush my teeth and go to bed now. I love you. I said, I'm proud of you. I love you too. That was the whole experience. True story. Like I journaled it that night and stuck it in, as an example. Sensations in the body are so important, and we often disassociate because the mind disassociates from the body because the body doesn't know how to communicate. We've not been taught how to listen to the body. So then the sensations just get louder. We get dysregulated. And this first step of being able to tune into the sensations in the body goes a long ways in our relationships and how we relate, particularly with ourselves. Could you imagine if you were being taught this when you were 11 years old? And notice I didn't solve the problem. There was no bribery. I didn't solve it through external forces, right, or influences. I just took her back to the present moment. She ended up getting reassurance. What the issue was, which she would have never been aware enough to be able to explain it as an 11-year-old, is that I'm just missing you. And my deepest fear is, so she was getting triggered by a deepest fear that I was never going to come back. And her perception was, that she's going to be left alone, abandoned, betrayed, right? If I never come back, that's like deep betrayal. So we're always being triggered through our deepest worst case perceptions, and the body is trying to communicate saying, hey, this is what we're experiencing. Now remember at the beginning, what the body needs is different than what the mind needs, and often we try to use the mind to make the body feel better. But notice I used the body and get clear and allowed the body to have a voice, or the sensations to have a voice. And then I could see what was actually going on. And then I could provide the reassurance that I didn't even know, and Amy didn't know that Addie even needed. So we have to slow everything down so that we can tune into the body, be able to understand the sensations. Once we're attuned to the sensation, you just ask it, if you had a voice, what would you say? And then you trust it and you believe it, because the body keeps the score. And the wisdom of all of our inner wisdom is actually in the body. It's not in the mind. It's in the body. And hopefully this little video presentation made sense to you, and we'll see you in the next video. Leave a comment, request some more clarity if you need, and then also make sure to check the PDFs that are there.